we've got a little bit of a battle. This is Paul Wildridge. Is this finally it? Almost banging doors down the chemistry.
Paul's getting aggressive. He tried to pinch him down. The 24's in the wall. They're going to wreck and across the line. Who even has it? It is the 24. Turner somehow takes the win.
Andrew Waring boxing in Warling as they go through there. Andrew Waring's going to try and make it around the first turn safely. It's going to be almost 3 wide as they go up the corner. It is 3 wide as they go up towards turn 2.
Great move by Pete Herod, sensing the opportunity there. Great car control by the two drivers, banding wheels. It's not something you normally get away with in an open wheel car, but Pete Herod to the lead, still 3 wide all the way through Druids.
Gives him another shove. Things are getting rough, and now they come together fully as that happens behind them. Suddenly catching up. Here comes Devin Horvath into the mix.
Is he going to try to go the long way here around Bruxelles? I think he is. Almost contact there as that was Beaufil trying to get a little bit wide. Carrying the momentum around the outside is Paul Wildridge. He's going to dive it down into No Name, and he's got the position for now.
10th overall. Whoa, he spun! And Edwards is spun. Can he get at the line? No, he can't. Bolton snatches it up at the last moment. Taking advantage. It's rare you can see passes through here side by side. Probably not going to end well as they come together and cutting back underneath. 3 wide through this corner. This does not look good. This does not look good. They're still going to manage to hold on to it. And Nick Kuhn around the outside keeps that position.
They're going to try and pincer move him here, going 3 wide into turn 3. Goodness me. 3 wide through the turn. Bradley Holly has to back out of it. No, he goes for a spin and he's around.
He's to the inside and tries to shut the door, but it is way too late as the 7 has nothing for him except to brake extremely late down into Andretti, try to go the long way around to defend, and he might have this one back. Round the outside, Ove Trangrade finds a little bit of grip, but he falls behind. Topi Cortinami has a nose ahead, tries to cover up, but the car is back there once again. Trangrade inside of turn 2. The battle carries on the last lap of the race for the lead here in round 6, and out of turn 3, Topi might have it done. No, he gets pinched down. Trangrade back up to the front.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there. and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an advanced sim racing customer.
Last week, tempers boiled over and a mess was left behind for the stewards to clean up. Once the sponges and mops were put away, an honest look was taken by the remaining drivers, and lessons on sportsmanship, even in the heat of battle, were driven home. But above it all, both series have seen two men stand tall overhead with almost unreachable speed. Will this week's mental reset help them regroup and catch them? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the PRL GT Amateur Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up tonight, the Ferrari Challenge drivers will face off at Road Atlanta. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming Turn 5. The wide curbing lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course IMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track. Well, it's called the Ferrari Challenge, and DJ, it really will be a challenge with a track like this one on tap.
Yeah, it certainly will, Joe. Road Atlanta, excuse me, is a bastion of cars like this. We see a lot of GT cars head to this track, but it doesn't make it any easier. Drivers are going to find a particular hard time in that first sector, coming up over the first corner and then through that absolutely blind turns 2, 3, 4 complex and down into the S's as well. That's really a one-lane way to go. Down into turn 6, probably not the best overtaking opportunity, but we may see a couple of aggressive drivers do it. But really and truly what you want to do is get a good run out of turn 7 and line yourself up perfectly for the left-right chicane complex. That is turn 10. That'll be the best overtaking opportunity, but it by no means will be easy around here. I anticipate track position being pretty king for these Ferraris here tonight.
We'll keep an eye on that. But in the meantime, we want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Tonight's broadcast is also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Tonight's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT AM Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Now, as we head over to the championship graphic here, Jonathan Wager, with 4 wins under his belt, is 30 points ahead of John Stetzel. That is a pretty big gap to make up with only 4 rounds remaining. Beau Phil is at least hot on the heels of Stetzel, along with Eric Luke very close behind him, too. And then you get another gap down to Paul Wildridge there in P5. So second, third, and fourth are the ones that are really most likely going to be swapping around after today, but we'll see if they can do anything about Wager. And in the meantime, let's head over to our team's championship graphic.
Well, it's an even bigger gap up top in that team's championship, with Eagle Vision Racing leading Apex Button Box by about 60 points, and then another 70-point gap back to Improper Racing. But pretty close 20-point or so there gap for third, with Parabola Racing Cobalt trying to close in on Improper Racing. Parabola Racing Midnight, however, is about 50 points back of their sister team, so some pretty good gaps there in team standings as we get farther into this season, Joe.
I'm not sure if we're going to see anybody who managed to do much about that one, but for today's race, if you haven't been watching before, it's a 35-minute sprint, but there is a pit stop. They have to stop for fuel before this is over. And it is a fixed setup series, so the drivers just have to get in the car and try and drive. Now, they have drive-through penalties at 13 incidents on track. 17 will give them a disqualification. That's for cases where they go off course or hit the wall or other drivers or have spins. They've got bonus points on tap for fastest lap, pole, and 3 incidents or less. They're trying for that pole position bonus right now, and Jonathan Wager has the provisional pole, but it's half a tenth between himself and the only other winner so far this season in the Ferrari Challenge, and that is Eric Luke. So there is your pole sitter. Wager around the final corner for his second lap, and it's a 17.8. That's even faster. So Luke now has almost half a second instead to try and make up.
He does indeed, and back from them. Oh, that's going to be Eric Luke going off there over past turn 1. Remember I said how tricky that was going to be? It's coming true right here, so Luke's going to have to re-rack and get back going again. Watch a couple other drivers crossing over the line here. It's a very close battle from third on down. Really third all the way through about 13th, Joe, separated only by a second.
Oof, quite close, and Hoskins comes across and actually comes into 13th as well. Looks like Cochran into 11th. Yeah, there are a lot of drivers that are very closely matched to one another, as Blake Ziti is down and through. It's a 19.5. That'll put him in the 11th place. Well, while the mid-pack is going to have quite a bit of fun, we'll see if anybody can try and catch up to our leaders, especially to Jonathan Wager. Now, in regards to Eric Luke going off, they get 4 laps here in the qualifying. After that, they do not get to set any more times. So Luke will be able to come back around for one lap. That one will get deleted since he had stopped into the pits. And then he'll come around on his last flyer effectively to try and go that little bit quicker as we watch Eric Evans, one of only 2 drivers out on track that have not set a time yet, but we're seeing at least 3 others that are sitting in pit lane that still need to come out and try and put one on the board.
Yeah, so a lot of drivers, I think, just waiting, maybe hoping that conditions will change a little bit on track, perhaps. So we watch Evans down into that heavy braking zone into turn 10. As I said, that's going to be a first-gear corner for these Ferraris, but there's a lot of opportunity to fight back there once we get racing. Brian Hoskins putting an even better lap down, able to go up to 8. Let's see what Evans is able to do. That's a 120.4. If it sticks, it does. That's P20 for Eric Evans.
So now Alec Bergstrom, the only driver out on track that needs to set a time. Luke Sutton, Charles Sumner, and Matthew Aubrey still sitting in pit lane. Not sure if they're going to come out on track to race today. We'll see if they do as we watch the 47 down the back stretch. Jonathan Wager had his 3rd lap deleted, so that one no good for him. And of course, we know Eric Luke had his lap taken away because of his off track. So as the red and black number 47 comes down through the final chicane and under the bridge, is he going to extend his gap even more to nearly 0.5 of a second? No, he is going to practice his pit entry and call it a day.
Well, and that could be crucial there. It's a very tricky pit entry around here, downhill, plunging off of this turn 11 as we watch Luke here. Now, this is, I'm not sure if this is going to be a timed lap for him or not. I don't believe it is. This will be his last one out right here, so he's starting his flyer.
Nope, that was it. That was his last lap, and he gets within about 2.5 of Wager, but he's not able to go quicker, but he's still on the front row. We'll see if anybody else is able to take that away from him. Still plenty of opportunities with a lot of drivers out on track that have laps left for them to try and run. This is Hoskins out there in 8th position. He's on his final flyer right now, up and over turn 5, over the blind crest and down towards 6.
And there you can see he'll drop the car down to about 3rd gear here, maybe 2nd, depending on how he's feeling with track conditions. And then again, down onto the binders for turn 7. That is a very, very crucial corner, Joe. It leads onto this long back straightaway here at Road Atlanta. And you can botch a little bit of turn 6, but you have got to be absolutely picture perfect when it comes to turn 7, because you cannot afford to lose so much as a 1/10 of a second of speed when you're coming down this back straightaway.
Down into the chicane, Hoskins. He only has to improve about a 1/10 to get ahead of Beau Phil. Earlier we were talking about the closeness. It is now from 5th to 21st that are split by a 2nd in time. And Hoskins not able to improve, unfortunately, so he's parking it down on the front stretch. Eric Evans, last time through for the number 9, and he doesn't go any faster. Blake Ziti's already completed his lap, so it looks like he and Joe McCauley are both done, but I do see Alec Bergstrom out there, and there you see him on screen now in the orange and black number 66. It's going to be a little close. I'm not sure if he has enough time to make this last one.
I'm not entirely sure if he does or not, Joe, but he'll be pushing at it. No matter what, just the more practice time you can get out on track, always the better. Get that car a little bit more acclimatized to the way it's rolling and how the track is feeling. He's got about 40 seconds here as he crests over the many hills at Road Atlanta. Now going through that flat out, barely a corner in anything, turn 9, and now onto the binders.
So right now he sits at a 19.3. That was his previous lap. Put him into 13th position. And as he crosses onto the bridge, down to the line, let's see what it is. Does this one count? It does, and it's a 19.2. That's an improvement up to 11th. 2 spots gained by Alec Bergstrom just in the nick of time. That'll take us to our grid here today. And Jonathan Wager will once again start on the pole, taking that valuable bonus point, putting himself even farther from his rivals. Then next to him, it is Eric Luke starting in second, as Leif Hellberg will start P3. Joseph Gerson starts in fourth, and David Cristelli will be P5. Lawson Christie, P6 for him. Rafael Beaufil, not the best qualifying we've seen from him, starting seventh, as Brian Hoskins able to do eighth, and Randy Gross ninth. And it's Baron Glover rounding out your top 10.
Alec Bergstrom with that last lap step is able to bump his way up to 11th, and he'll be followed by Peter Lee in 12th. Behind them in row 7, it'll be Mark Feil and Baron Hilton, with Neil Alexander and Joe McCauley behind them in row 8. Starting off 17th, it'll be Blake Ziti, followed by Drew DeWeese in 19th. Barry Cochran will be 19th, and then Jordan Walker rounds out your top 20.
Eric Evans starts 21st, followed by Yannick Belleville in 22nd. And the last driver to set a time was David Hebert. Aubrey, Sumner, and Sutton will be gridded at the back. And I do see, looks like all of them are out there. So we get a full field of 26 cars here today at Road Atlanta, waiting for the pace car to lead them on that pace lap. And you mentioned the conditions that some of the drivers may have been waiting for. Well, it's quite cool. We've seen that the conditions are quite overcast here today. There's just not a whole lot of sun peeking through. So only 67 Fahrenheit and 19 Celsius.
Yeah, it's really, really chilly out there, Joe. Only about 5 miles an hour of wind, so that's not too much of a concern. Some pretty typical Atlanta humidity here at about 60 degrees. That'll help the drivers just a little bit through the faster corners. Be more air to push down on the cars, but really, the big storyline here is going to be that 67 degrees track temperature. That means these tires are going to be a lot cooler on the opening lap. Drivers are going to have to be very, very careful, specifically through the sweeping turns of 1 and 2 that are traditionally taken pretty much flat out. There's not going to be as much grip to be had, so drivers are going to have to be careful. Otherwise, they could find themselves in a world of trouble.
Bad news for fans of Joe McCauley. He lost his internet connection, so he is unfortunately fallen out of the server and will hopefully be back maybe a little bit after the race starts. It's just not looking good at this stage because I don't see him reconnected yet, and they're already halfway through the pace lap. That's an unfortunate one since he was going to start solidly in the mid-pack here for round 7. But he's on the back foot immediately. Now we come to the back stretch. You were talking about track position being key. And of course, I imagine track position down through here, especially come late in the race, might wind up being important. How powerful do you think the draft is going to be? Will it allow at least a decent pass through here?
It'll allow for a decent opportunity, Joe, but, these are GT3 machines, and we haven't necessarily seen the draft be mega effective in any of these cars across the board. Now, that said, because it's a fixed series, you're not able to sort of trim out and fight against that, but I don't think it's going to be as crucial as necessarily getting just a good launch out of turn 7. That's going to be the most crucial thing here.
And we had another driver lose internet connection. Neil Alexander has also dropped. This is some strange stuff and a little bit worrisome. Drivers are chatting about it a bit, but we're getting ready to go green, so no time to worry about that as the green flag waves, and Wager is away with a great start as they cross the line, slotting into third place. Gerson gets ahead of Hellberg down into the first corner, already pretty single file at the front of the field.
Yeah, Joe, Jonathan Wager got on the loud pedal very, very early around here and just tried to jump off as soon as possible. We go single file here through about P10 up through turns 2 and 3. Wager already trying to stretch his legs over Eric Luke.
Yeah, I think the front of the field in general are starting to stretch those legs because it's about half a second from Wager to Luke. Luke is a full second back to Gerson, and then it's another full second back to Hellberg. So they have obviously found some pace over the rest of the field as we haven't even completed half a lap here. On to the backstretch now. Oh, and looks like Sumner had a problem here on the first lap in turn 5.
Yes, indeed he did. I'm trying to take a look and see what happened. There may have been a little bit of contact with him just to a car in front.
Well, the car looks decent. I'm not seeing any big damage, so let's take a look at the replay here.
No, that's my bad, Joe. There was no contact there. He just got a little bit squirrely coming over those big rumble strips on the exit of turn 5. And I think that's a little bit of the cold tires coming out to bite him.
And it sends him to the back of the field, unfortunately, as the drivers have already finished lap 1. Wager already a second ahead of Luke now. Luke about 1.3 ahead of Gerson. See a little bit farther behind them. This is here in among David Cristelli chasing Hellberg for 4th position. They're also trailing along Lawson Christie with them as they head towards turn 6. Not looking for anything here. Going to be looking for the exit of 7. This second right-hander right here. Let's see if Hellberg's got something.
It looked a little bit like the 009 there of Cristelli, not able to get the best run through the corner, but able to get some good speed at corner exit. So I think they're going to stay relatively single file for now.
Yeah, and even in the background, we're not seeing a whole lot of drivers poking their nose out. It seems like they've taken the talks to heart, and it's been pretty clean so far at this stage of the race, knocking on wood and hoping that continues as we see the blue and gray number 009 cross for lap 3 now. Remember, there is also pit stops out here today, so even if we don't see passing now, it could be critical trying to use the slipstream as the race progresses and then use the strategy later to try and make an overtake if it's too tough.
Yeah, indeed, Joe, and that's kind of what we've seen a couple of times from these PRL series where there's not as much ability to pass out on track. Keeping our eyes focused here, just looking for any battles starting to develop. The one thing that I will say regarding that ability to save some fuel around here, if you are able to do it correctly, it's relatively easy to get done. You can back off a little bit going down the long back straightaway. You can coast a little bit through turn 6. You can probably eke out a lap or 2 of extra fuel if you really work at it, but we're side by side. A little bit of contact.
That was Hoskins. He was already in a fight before that corner with Baron Glover, but that one got physical very quickly. Hoskins back on the circuit, but looking slow, so he's slipping well down the order.
Yeah, I'm looking at the car. I can't tell if there's a whole lot of damage to it, but he just lost a whole bunch of momentum. Focusing back here, nobody going to be aggressive down into turn 10.
That was Glover having to fend off Bergstrom. Randy Gross in there as well. Baron Hilton behind them and Drew DeWeese. This is all essentially for 9th place, which is held by Bergstrom in that orange and black car. A little bit of a look from Gross down into turn 1, and he tries it, but he doesn't get the overlap. Now, that would have been from a long way back into what is quite a fast corner.
Indeed, a very, very quick corner, but we have seen drivers able to be very, very aggressive and do that. Drew DeWeese, though, looking like he's going to start to try to threaten Baron Hilton here, that 0-0 under a whole bunch of pressure. Tricky to follow here up through turn 5. Oh, a little bit squirrely there for DeWeese.
Drops time almost immediately. You can see that dark blue car getting farther away from the gearbox. Then up into turn 7, and oh my goodness, we got a big one here. Jordan Walker, I think, involved in this one. And it starts with him, it appears. The 16 coming into turn 5 has discovered why it is such a diabolical corner.
Indeed, Joe. Let's go back and check out the replay here. Looks like that's Walker. Oh.
That's Hoskins.
That is Hoskins. I'm not entirely sure what happened. Let's back that up a little bit, see if we can see exactly what went wrong. Oh, car gets off, and that corner is completely blind. Oh.
And multiple cars. Who else got into that? That looks like Luke Sutton, who also had a big piece of it. But yeah, Hoskins really didn't have a good angle on it. And there's that incident before that happened to Hoskins. And well, the day just got a whole lot worse, unfortunately. Sutton in pit lane, and Hoskins had to take it to. Walker did naturally as well, with him being flipped on his lid. And the drivers now up at the front, being led by Wager by about 1.7 seconds. Gerson, my goodness, third place has dropped like a rock. It's 3.8 seconds on only lap 5. There you can see him back there. He's lost a huge bit of distance to our top two.
Yeah, he really has, and Leif Hellberg trying to put some pressure onto the 21 Ferrari now, just seeing if he can get anything going. It looks like Leif has been able to close in a little bit over the last couple of laps, shrinks that gap down even more. There you can see the comparisons. Gerson just losing out bit by bit over on the leader.
As they cross the line for the 5th lap, filling our boxes up, and they come back through turn 1. Gerson gets himself away from Hellberg momentarily, but Cristelli's still back there giving watch. Over turn 3, you can see just how little is visible over that crest in that corner. It's a place that I expect to see at least a few more mistakes over the course of this one. Let's see if these 3 can get 5 right. And 1, 2, 3, they are over the hill.
They are indeed. Cristelli now looking like the one in the catbird seat a little bit. He's closed up on the back of Leif Hellberg. They've worked their way through the fast turn 6, now down into the heavy braking of turn 7. Hellberg got a good jump on that last lap on Joseph Gerson here. Looks like he's able to get a pretty decent one again.
Good news for fans of Joe McCauley. He's back out on track and rolling, but he's 2 laps down. So it's looking like it is going to be a race of just scalping whatever spots come from drivers who have issues here today. As the braking into the chicane, not going to give anything to Hellberg, though he does close in on Gerson. In fact, closes in on the exit as well. Seems to really like that part of the course.
Yes, he does. It looked like he fell back a little bit there through 11 and 12, but definitely starting to challenge here. Now the question's going to be here for Leif Hellberg. We saw him fall back through this first sector. If he can do it, there he got a little bit too wide on the exit of turn 1, had to check the car up. I think that's exactly what happened to him on the previous lap, and that's what put him in that position of being under a little bit of attack from David Cristelli.
Yeah, Cristelli's just been stalking him back there, but hasn't made any moves yet. He keeps getting close and then suddenly starts to drop back. Almost a bit of a yo-yo effect between these 3, the way things have been. Coming up to turn 6, let's see what Hellberg's got coming off this corner. 90-degree right-hander onto the long backstretch, and that one was pretty good. The 52 is now going to get a slipstream from Gerson.
Yeah, let's keep our eyes on that one. The speed differential starting to grow in Leif Hellberg's favor. We've seen some drivers start to get aggressive here down into turn 10. Let's see if it's Hellberg's time. Defensive move there from Gerson, and coming back to the racing line, just a little bit of a fade there from the 21. But again, that's going to be Hellberg right up behind. Watch for a move here.
So just for the podium. Oh, he lifted. Didn't like how that one looked, but that cost him a lot of speed. And here comes Cristelli. He knows it. He defends to the inside, coming down into turn 1. Covers him off just enough. David doesn't even give it a go.
Doesn't give it a go, but again, that is Hellberg not looking like he's having the best time through turn 1. Lost a bit of ground there to Gerson and allowed for Cristelli to catch back up once again.
Yeah, these 3 just not able to be separated from one another. And interestingly, they've dropped Lawson Christie since some time ago. It's about 2.2 seconds back to P6. So they're all kind of able to fight amongst themselves without too many worries at this stage. Back onto the front, or backstretch rather, once again. And this time, Joseph gets himself a much better exit compared to Leif. And I don't think we'll see the same sort of shenanigans down into the chicane this time.
No, I don't think we will on that one. We've got a little bit of a battle shaping up here down for P14 right now. This is Peter Lee defending from Barry Cochran. Lee did a good job off of turn 7 trying to back up the apex, but I think Cochran was still able to get the jump. Almost a little bit of a hip check there. That is going to be Cochran being forced to go around the long way of what will be turn 10.
And I think it was facilitated a little bit. Lee looked like he gave a tiny lift, and that's some great advancement for Cochran. He started this race in 18th and is now up to 14th, 4th position in about 8 laps here. And already the clock has passed 11 minutes here. So the time is quickly going away, and they'll have to start thinking about pit stops at some point here. That blue car that you saw flashing by, that was Blake Ziti, who was about 2.5 seconds up the road. Another one that's been making good gains from 17th to 13th for him.
Yeah, he's on a bit of a good charge here as we watch Ziti working his way around. There we see going down the backstretch, seeing what he can do. Excuse me, that's not the backstretch, that's going into turn 5.
Indeed, and as we jump up to 6th place, this is Bofill chasing Christie, and he's got a very good run. Rafael, is he going to go for it? He's going to show his nose a little bit. He's looking for the pass. A late defense there from Christie, but it's not enough of a defense. The door stays somewhat ajar. He's good through the chicane. Wow, and a little bit of wheel spin from Bofill on top of it will make it a non-pass today.
It will indeed. That was very, very stout defense there from Lawson Christie. We had talked about how he had fallen back off the back of that battle up ahead of him with Cristelli, Helberg, and Gerson. But clearly some fighting spirit left in that 22. That is not an easy thing to do to defend a pass through that turn 10 chicane.
Oh, but he was a little slow through turn 3. Bofill doesn't have any place to go now through the S's. If he can stick with that rear wing, he might have a chance a few corners down. We get a little bit of sun starting to peek through all the many clouds here today. Baron Glover in the white 93 approaching from behind them as they break for turn 6.
Work their way down. A little bit of a later entry into the corner there for Bofill, trying to carry momentum, but I'm not sure that worked out in his favor. He's about equidistant there in between Lawson Christie and Baron Glover. Glover's looking a little bit feisty there behind, trying to poke his nose out to the inside.
And I think that was a little bit of trying to break the draft from Lawson Christie there, weaving down the backstretch. Bofill not able to do anything to him. Off of the chicane. Oh, that was a great exit from the 786. Does he dare try it into turn 1? If he can get enough slipstream here, we often see battles carry on into this first right-hander, but no, once again, covering him off. Christie making sure he doesn't have any bright ideas.
Very good defense once again from Lawson Christie. He really didn't move the car all that much. He just planted it right in the middle of the track. Traditionally, you'd want to take a little bit of a wider line through there, try to maximize your speed, but I think he knew if he went for that line that Bofill would send one down the inside of him. So planting that car in the middle of the track, just preventing the driver behind from taking that optimal line. It's very heads up. Rafael Bofill, though, down into turn 6, looking pretty aggressive. He's going to try to get this corner right out of 7, get the power on. He kicks up a little bit of dirt. That car looked a little bit twitchy.
Yeah, and I think that hurt his exit speed. He's not that far back, but he needs to be closer than this for an attack. He's starting to reel in the 22. Oh, he could actually have something. Was this actually close enough? He thinks it is. He's going to show himself. He's going to break deep. And once again, we saw this one before. Christie won out last time. He's going to win this time. And in fact, it might cost a position to Rafael. Here comes Glover up the inside, down through the final turn and onto the front stretch, almost pushing him off the track. He has to slow up. We're going to go 3 wide as to the inside of both of them. Bergstrom says, thank you very much. I am going to snatch up P7 with that. Oh, and off goes Rafael.
Oh, Rafael just getting a little bit of a hip check there on the exit, I think, from Baron Glover, but that was absolutely heads up from Alec Bergstrom, recognizing where that opportunity presented itself and just seizing on it, Joe.
And a brave one, too. Going 3 wide, coming up to turn 1, takes a little bit of guts. Wonder if we could get an onboard replay of Alec's perspective and seeing those two going 2 wide. Great stuff from the 66, regardless, as we take a look now at the replay. There we see a dive to the inside. Had just enough speed with the pair of them. And poor Rafael, no contact, just unfortunately 2 wide through turn 1. is still very perilous. We're going to see the onboard view from Bergstrom. He sees it happening, sees the timing's right, goes for it, clears him, and he's through.
Yeah, he just saw that gap present itself and decided to go for it. As you said, no contact there between Glover and Beaufil. That was just, I think, Beaufil getting a little bit scared off and maybe running over those rumble strips ever so slightly.
We're going to check another replay here. What are we looking at? Oh, bit of contact between the 23 and not sure who that other one was. That was Blake Ziti, actually.
Yeah, it was. So making that pass, oh, looked like that was a little bit of ghost contact there, Joe. They just kind of came together a little bit at the corner. Deweese doing a pretty decent job to recover from it. He only dropped down, it looks like 2-3 positions. But whoo, getting a little feisty up here. This is that battle with Gerson and Hellberg. Hellberg trying to find his way by finally.
Ooh, he's making this race tough for the 21. He's already dropped the leaders, desperately hoping to hold on to this podium position. And Leif Hellberg filling his mirrors up here now that we reach just about the middle of the race. Out of turn 1, looks like Leif isn't quite quick enough. Now they come up to turn 3. Leif a little bit wide, and now Cristelli is edging closer to him. And have we had a problem with Cochran? No, Cochran is in pit lane.
Yes, he is. I'm also seeing Alec Bergstrom coming on in here a little bit early, so I think they may be hoping to see if they can jump ahead here a little bit, maybe get some clean air as they run out. I think they may get it, but we'll have to see as they cycle back through. We keep our eyes focused on this battle. Hellberg just looking like he's losing time there to Gerson in that first sector still.
Yeah, he's way far back now. Look at the distance between them on screen. And let's see, Bergstrom's back out, and Bergstrom just barely got into clear air. Cochran did as well. They're split between David Hebert, who has not taken his stop yet. So he'll clear out for them pretty soon. And speaking of clearing out, looks like Hellberg is tired of having to make this pass on track. He is also going for an undercut.
I like that strategy from Leif Hellberg, Joe. Try to come in, get some clean air, and try to make the pass in the pits. He's clearly not having the luck on getting by Joseph Gerson on track, so this is the best way to do it.
Well, at the start of the show, we asked if anybody could catch Jonathan Wager. So far today, that's pretty much a no. And Wager currently 5 seconds ahead of anybody else out there. So we continue to watch a little bit behind that. That is the 00. Baron Hilton just leading along Blake Ziti and Rafael Beaufil. Beaufil on a recovery drive after having an off in turn 1, and he had quite a moment there coming onto the curbs of turn 5.
Yeah, getting very, very squirrely. And those curbs there are relatively unique in the terms of racing across the simulator and indeed the world. It's not like a narrow strip where you would see like they're coming on the exit of turn 7. There's about a car and a half's width of rumble strip there in curbing. And it's because of how fast you can take that corner. And you can take a lot of the curb, but if you get the power on or put a little bit too much steering into it while you're up on those rumble strips, that really upsets the balance of the car as it jumps over those little micro bumps, and you could very easily find yourself spinning out.
The plot thickens. Gerson's responded. He is in pit lane as well. Hellberg's coming down the backstretch himself. So will Hellberg be able to jump him with only a single lap difference between their two pit strategies? Looks like Hilton also pitting. Peter Lee is in. Gerson still stationary. 13 and a half seconds for the 21. He's rolling. It's going to be mighty close, but he is going to be ahead of Hellberg. And actually, he had a much better lap and seems to have taken quite the advantage in the pit stops. The gap between them has grown from a few tenths to now 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, and that was all that in and out lap there, Joe. Hellberg and Gerson were almost identical when it came to pit stop time.
Well then, Gerson clearly on it. He must have started pushing as soon as he realized Hellberg had stopped into the pits. Make sure he didn't have any opportunity to try and attack. Down into the braking, Blake Ziti ahead of Rafael Bofill. And out of the left, right, and over the hill. Will they be pitting in this time? We're starting to get towards the end of the pit window. Yes, both of them are in.
Joe, it looks like pretty much everybody coming in. Wager, Luke, Cristelli, Christie, Glover, all of these leaders in front. There go your leaders back on out. That is Eric Luke powering out of the pit lane right now. Here is Joseph Gerson coming around.
Oh, and Cristelli's going to get both of them, I think. Cristelli has pitted a lap later than Gerson and comes out ahead and is well ahead of Hellberg, of course, with his 2-lap difference. So David Cristelli is the one that really is able to take advantage of the pit strategy. Unbelievable stuff, and frankly, rather unexpected. He seemed so unassuming behind the pair of them.
Yeah, he really did. I think he must have just been saving a lot of fuel behind the two of them, but Joseph Gerson is not going to let this go quietly. Starts to poke his nose to the inside there of turn 6. Now trying to get a good exit off of 7. Late apex there for Cristelli. I think maybe trying to run a little bit of a defensive line, but Gerson able to keep that relatively close. He's only about 0.38 tenths of a second behind.
Unfortunately, Bergstrom and Glover have made contact on pit exit. Glover was coming out of the pits. Bergstrom was trying to take the natural racing line. And unfortunately, this is a very blind pit exit where you just can't tell when another car is going to be coming up to you. And regardless, the result was that both of them were off track and have taken some damage. Cristelli, though, still sitting in 3rd place now after his pit stop, ahead of Gerson, having out-strategized him. He's got to hold off for about 11.5 minutes, and he's got a podium in his hands.
He does indeed, but these two have got to be careful, Joe. Leif Hellberg only about 3 seconds behind them. And let me tell you that Hellberg ran a faster lap time out. So very, very threatening in the back potentially.
Oh, bad news for Bergstrom is he is in pit lane. So that damage must have been too much for him to deal with. Hilton is able to keep going, though. Or, no, excuse me, it was Glover. Glover is able to keep going after that contact. Cristelli, 0.3 of a second ahead of Gerson down the backstretch. Joseph going to start reeling him in bit by bit as they reach 150 miles an hour. Then downhill into the braking, shows his nose, but he was a long ways back there, so I think he was just trying to get in his head.
Yeah, I think he was as well, and that's definitely what Gerson wants to be doing here to see if he can force Cristelli offline. We have, oh, is that Bofill?
Yep, he spun off of turn 7. Looks like he didn't hit anything, not seeing any damage on the car. He gets it going, but once again, he loses multiple positions, and he's now down to 14th. Everybody has taken their stops, so this is all legitimate positions out on track. The 09 dealing with this pressure well, just soaking it up. They come over turn 5, although that time through the corner, Gerson was a fair bit quicker.
Yes, he is again breaking down into turn 6. Let's see if he can get the all-important jump off of turn 7 here. Almost contact between the two, but Gerson carries a lot of speed.
This is a lot closer than he's been in the last few laps. What kind of defense will we see from the 009? Will he try and defend, or is he concerned about just collecting a decent finish here today? Starting to pull in. Gerson is going to have to go around the outside. Cristelli does defend deep on the brakes. The red and white machine is going to be able to keep the nose in. A little bit of ghost contact between them. And it looks like they're going to be able to get away with it, but an apology over the radio from Joseph Gerson for that one.
Yeah, that's not the way he wanted to get by, but he is by nonetheless, reclaiming that third place position. Let's see if Cristelli has any sort of answer here, or if Gerson now is going to be able to slip off into the distance a little bit.
Even still, Gerson has gained at least one spot out of those pit stops, even if he doesn't get Joseph back. Down to less than 9 minutes to go. A little bit of an update on Joe McCauley. He's up to 21st, but next car is Alec Bergstrom, and I think, yeah, actually he should be able to overtake him before this is done then, unless Alec gets on track.
Yeah, indeed, and there is that Repsol machine driving around right now for Joe McCauley. So he is just, I think, and there it is, crosses over the pits, and that officially bumps him up into 20th.
That's that never say die attitude. I like that from the 15. Trying to get whatever points he can here today. Well, let's check back in on a battle in the mid-pack in 8th. Baron Hilton leads Cochran, Glover, and Lee. All four of them within about a second and a half of one another, and they're plunging down the back stretch. That is Blake Zeedy in front of him, and my goodness, Blake Zeedy up from 17th on the grid to 7th now, a 10 position gain for that number 50 car. As wow, things are getting close, bumper to bumper through the chicane between Hilton and Cochran.
And Barry Cochran tied actually for the other highest mover of the race with 10 positions up from his starting position of 18th. Trying to see if he can make that 11 here, looking to the outside on Baron Hilton through turn 1. That's not going to be a move that pays off, but I think he was just trying to force Baron off onto a suboptimal line. Really putting a lot of pressure here to that 0-0.
Sticking with it down through the S's. Can he stay close through turn 5, 6, and 7? 5, he starts to drop back a little bit as Hilton finds some pace. Gets a few car lengths between himself and the 7-11. Up through turn 6, banked right-hander. Once again, Hilton looking strong on corner exits, but this time he misses the apex down through 7, and that was the most important of the 3. Here comes Cochran once again.
I think this is going to be the moment, Joe, and Barry Cochran knows it. That's 7-11 hunting up behind the 0-0. He's going to poke his nose to what will be the outside of turn 10. He's just going to try to rely on some outright pace here. They're going to go on to the binders, plunging down into turn 10, and Cochran is already ahead.
Great stuff from the 7-11 into P8 with that move, and immediately leaving Hilton behind as well. Glover is starting to size him up. They come across the line down towards turn 1. Not close enough to try it here. Maybe a little bit later on. He looks stronger on the entry to 1, but slow off the exit.
Yes, he does, and I guarantee you Baron Hilton is putting all of his attention here on this next lap into that turn 7 exit. He knows he messed that up, and that's what cost him the position. I think he may have been able to keep Cochran behind if that had not happened.
Okay, so we are getting down to about 4 or 5 laps to go here. Drivers starting to make some moves, starting to feel the pressure to start doing stuff out there, knowing they can't rely on the pit stops. They've got to try and make these overtakes. Looks like these 4 are starting to spread out as well as they get some air in between them. Yep, it's gone from 0.4 of a second between them all now to about 5 or 0.6 of a second. Hitting the brakes down into the final chicane. Cochran ahead of Hilton, ahead of Glover, ahead of Lee.
Oh!
And somebody off course. Is that Hilton? That was Hilton. A spin out of the final chicane. Just lost control of it, and it was a big thwack, and well, he hits it again for good measure. He's going to take a tow. That might be day done for Baron Hilton. Not sure he'll be able to get back onto the track with how little time is on the clock.
I have to agree with you on that, Joe. It looks like he was losing it already coming up out of turn 10B, and that car just continued around in the lazy spin and caught the undercarriage of that bridge.
I thought maybe it would be catching the dirt, but it looks like it is already starting to happen before he even touched it out there. Well, whatever the case, that's going to be another one biting the dust. And Jonathan Wager still leads up at the very front of the field by about 7.5 seconds. Now, Eric Luke chasing him 7.7 seconds behind. There is Wager in the 47. Now we take a look at Garrison as he is about half a second ahead of Cristelli. Boy, David probably ruined his mistake that opened the door enough for Joseph to get through. He's been holding on to those coattails. Maybe could have fended him off a little bit longer if it weren't for that error. And for right now, he is stuck looking at the red and white back with the black wing.
Yeah, indeed, Joe, those are my thoughts exactly. He's been able to keep this gap anywhere between about 1 second and a half a second. So I've got to think he could have held him out. Just that little error costing Cristelli. His only real hope here is David Hebert right ahead of them in the 996. That is some lap traffic. Maybe he can hope that Gerson will make an error or something trying to get around that slower car. But outside of that, it looks like hope is slowly diminishing here for David Cristelli.
Certainly is. And down the hill into the final chicane. Everybody's spreading apart a little bit. Ooh, and Hellberg, is he catching him? What did the last few laps look like? 19.0, 19.4. Cristelli, 19.2, 19.2. So kind of split between them the last 2 laps at least. The 009 has got to watch out. There's the overall of the last 5 laps. Yeah, it just keeps wavering back and forth between the pair of them, which I'm sure is frustrating for Leaf. He wants to get within striking distance of that Robin's Egg blue machine.
Yeah, he would. And a big chunk taken out on that last lap, about 9/10 of a second. That'll pull Leaf within about, he's now under a second of him. So he's really gaining in here, Joe.
Well, he's not going to have much time to do anything once he gets up to him, because our leader's coming to line for 2 to go now. They've got lap traffic. Thankfully, we haven't really seen a whole lot in the way of the lap traffic here today. It's not the largest field, but we were worried about how they'd handle going through the S's, and I can't think of cases where they've had to where they've been held up by a lapped car through that portion.
No, some of those fears certainly going away. Oh, man, again, Hellberg still on the back there. Look at that, 0.5 of a second down. He's cut down about a half second on 1 lap, so 2 to go for them. Hellberg's not out of this, Joe.
Certainly not, but he's still got to make the pass. Let's not forget, he's got to try and make the overtake if he wants that 4th position, and he's going to have 2 laps to try and do it as they come down into the S's. Don't forget, after this is over, we have more racing with the GT Amateur Series, GT3 Amateur Series here in the Precision Racing League. So there's more fun to come as they fly up towards turn 6. If Hellberg gets a good enough exit, he might have a shot down into the chicane. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, the car wiggles a little bit, unfortunately.
And it looked like he missed the apex a little bit coming down into turn 7, just trying to maximize as much momentum as he could there, but not enough to hold it out. So that gap is going to be at about 0.3 of a second. It's starting to come back down a little bit. Defensive move there from Cristelli. Here comes Hellberg.
He's got an O's ahead, and he is through. Cristelli demoted down to 5th. And almost looked like Cristelli may have given that one up a little bit. In the meantime, Wager is on the final lap, and he is being held up by lap traffic. Matthew Aubrey in front of them. We spoke too soon. And pulling off the left side, Aubrey just going to let the black and red driver go by. Up to turn 7 now. We've seen 4 wins already from Jonathan Wager out of 6 races. It's going to be 5 out of 7 at this rate. Blake Ziti is in the pits. I'm not sure why. He might have either a penalty or have short fueled it. We'll try and investigate a little bit later. Wager has missed one round so far. That was the last one that he wasn't able to get to. And other than that, he's been in the top 5 every single race, and he'll keep that streak up with win number 5 here today at Road Atlanta.
It's almost an old saying at this point, but absolutely mega performance from Jonathan Wager. Oh, terrible news for fans of Dave Cristelli. He is out of fuel coming out of turn 7.
Oof. And it looks like Lawson Christie came back out after a second stop as well. Wonder if there was a splash and dash there. Coming down the back stretch, we see a fight between the likes of Cochran and Glover, but Glover's a bit far back. Lee and DeWeese behind them paired up as well. A little bit of a look from Glover, trying to show his nose, but the scare tactics not going to work. Down to the line, looks like Cochran going to get himself a handy top 5 today.
That's a good run from Barry Cochran, and he will be the highest mover on the race. They're up 14 positions when everything is said and done. A great performance there for him.
And looks like just about everybody is across the line, so let's go through our finishing order. Jonathan Wager with another win by about 9 seconds over Eric Luke. It was Joseph Gerson who did finish on the podium. Leif Hellberg in 4th. And, I think, something happened to Cristelli. I think he must have gotten a penalty. Yeah, because he has fallen down the order. So Hellberg 4th and Cochran in 5th, and it was Baron Glover P6, Peter Lee 7th, and Drew DeWeese 8th. Yannick Belleville 22nd to 9th today. Great job. Beau Phil wound up 10th.
Lawson Christie was able to come home 11th, followed by Blake Ziti. And then, as we said, David Cristelli all the way down in 13th. We think what may have happened there is because he ran out of fuel, he wasn't able to finish the lap, and so they needed for everybody to finish before him to be classified there. Matthew Aubry was 14th, followed by Charles Sumner. All of these drivers a lap down. David Hebert 16th, Randy Gross 17th, Eric Evans 18th, Joe McCauley 2 laps down in 19th, and Baron Hilton 5 laps down was a DNF.
Alec Bergstrom didn't get back out on track. He was 21st, and all the drivers below him as well, you can see, were DNFs today. And looks like we've got our second place finisher ready to talk to us, Eric Luke. Let's see what he thinks of this one, because for a brief while at the start of the race, Eric looked like he had the pace to at least keep Jonathan honest, but that started to fade later on. And there he is. Eric, congratulations on a podium. But despite at least a glimmer of hope at the start, where it looked like you were kind of hanging on to Jonathan Wager, he once again left you in the dust.
He was able to push a little bit harder at the start, and I wasn't, and that was all she wrote. Going through practice and even in qualifying, I had more pace on qualifying. I just made a couple mistakes, and it was just the little mistakes that killed me this go around.
Yeah, it looks like you had a few, because you wound up with 8 incidents at the end of this one. Were you a little nervous about it getting kind of close to the 13 out there? Because we did see a few drivers find themselves unceremoniously ending their race today.
No, I really wasn't concerned with it. At the start of the race, you can kind of cheat that uphill right-hander just a little bit, pick up 1X. You do pick up a little bit of time there. So in my pursuit of Jonathan, it was let's take a couple X's for the team and see where we go. And after a while, it was just, settle down, bring it home, take second place. Would have needed some catastrophe to happen to Jonathan, and it just didn't happen. I just made too many mistakes.
Well, next round, you've got a devilishly simple-looking track with Snetterton's 200 course. Are you looking forward to that one, or is that one that you're not a fan of?
I like Snetterton. It's a gem in the rough. It's a lot of fun track. I'd prefer the 300 course, going through the the bombing range section. Is a lot of fun, but it's the 200 course, so we'll go get them.
All right, we'll look for you. Congratulations on the podium. Anybody you want to thank today?
Big thanks to you guys. I look forward to watching the race again on replay. Big thanks to Apex Button Box, as well as SimRacingMadness.com. I appreciate it, gentlemen.
That was Eric Luke P2 out there in the 709 machine. But as we mentioned before, we've got more racing to come. The PRL GT3 AM Series is up next at Homestead-Miami Speedway on the Roval, so stick around.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
We are So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really about cars. As you can see behind me, we did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install ultra wide.
Welcome back. We are now at Homestead-Miami Speedway for the PRL GT3 Amateur Series. This is a track that is rarely used here on iRacing, but has been seen a lot of GT racing in real life. So why don't we head to our track guide and show you what it's like here at Homestead's Roval.
The track boom of the 1990 recovery after the devastating Hurricane Andrew brought this gem of a southern Florida track. It started out a bit rough. In 1995, the initial layout was like a smaller Indianapolis. It really didn't work. Slow, narrow, passing was near impossible. So they widened the track. That brought out a larger problem.
Welcome to Homestead-Miami. South of the city of Miami and just east of Homestead, this track is definitely more well known for hosting the season finale of the NASCAR Cup Series for many years. However, sports cars have taken advantage of its infield road course for a few decades as well. Two layouts exist, with the A course running 2.2 miles over 12 turns and the B course clocking 2.3 miles over 10 turns. It presents some rather interesting challenges. In both cases, the first corner is a sweeping left-hander which dares the brave to enter as quick as they can, while saving the braking for turn 2 until the very last moment. It makes it very easy to go just a bit too wide and clip the grass, sending you spinning. From there, the track tightens up into a pair of slow hairpins. But then the car's horsepower gets unleashed with two long straights leading into more hairpins that offer great passing opportunities. From there, the B course includes a simple flight around the oval turns 3 and 4, but the A course takes a frightening ride through a swift set of left-handers. Then the final chicane tests who can get the better exit onto the long blast back into the first corner. It may be less famous than the oval itself, but this road course has hosted IMSA, Grand Am, and the FIA GT Championship in its short history. Since 1995, it's been a playground for South Florida's road racing fans. And thanks to I can enjoy this Roval's challenges. Well, as we mentioned, DJ, sports cars have raced around here plenty. So what do we expect with GT3 machines taking to it?
Well, Joe, from what we were able to see last night out in the Pro GT3 series, passing is going to be at a premium around here at Homestead. Drivers are really going to want to focus on their qualifying as much as possible. But that said, it is very, very treacherous around here as well. Drivers have got to be very careful coming through that 1, 2, 3 complex, getting onto the brakes, careful not to lock up those rear tires, and getting the car wound down for turn 3 itself. We saw a couple of passes down into that zone, but it's very, very tricky to do so. The best overtaking zones really exist going into turn 6, which is that first corner off of the infield section, and then turn 8, that long left-handed hairpin that leads you onto the oval backstretch. But those are really the only 3 areas where it's pretty possible to get a pass. Other than that, it's relatively follow the leader around here, and so drivers are going to have to be very careful. We may see some drivers trying to go a little bit of alternate fuel strategy, be a little bit lighter on that right pedal if possible, but even that is going to be very tricky because there just aren't enough long straights to really maximize fuel saving.
Well, in the meantime, let's take a look at our championship. And as I mentioned, it's another one similar to what we saw before. 32 points this time between Trepanier and Kevin Norris, his chaser. But then it's a big gap from second to third as well. Jean-Claude Langlois holding up that position with Robbie Campbell and Claude Belval, at least relatively tight. So battle for the final step on the podium of the championship at this stage, unless something dramatic happens to Vincent or Kevin Norris. So let's see if the team standings is also spread apart.
Well, it's pretty close up at the top, Joe, with ASR AMA only 7 points over NTR Motorsports Yellow. So a very, very good battle there for P1, but a massive gap back into third. 51 points back to TML Motorsports, and they're a little bit in an island unto themselves with YS Motorsports about 25 points behind them. But L1 Esports Red, they're only about 3 points back of YS Motorsports, so good battles there for first and for fourth.
And this race is going to go slightly different from what we just watched with the Ferrari Challenge. It's going to be 40 minutes long instead. Still will have a pit stop, but it is also open setup in this series. So drivers can try to tweak it to their liking to find a little bit of speed. That could make a difference. We did hear last night for the pros, some of the drivers saying they had more downforce and they kind of regretted it as it made passing tough. And there it's the same penalties, 13 and 17, and the same bonus points that the drivers are going for. And Trepignet actually has the provisional pole, but, well, it's deja vu all over again. It's half a tenth between Trepignet and Nicholson, but we are down to the last lap between Trepignet and Nicholson, each of them on that final flyer. Let's see if Nathan can make up what little time he has to snatch the pole bonus away.
Well, he's coming out onto the main straightaway right now, and that car got very squirrely coming off the final corner. I think that's going to cost him a little bit of time, but he'll cross over. Let's see what he did. It was a 20.2, not fast enough to be able to get up past Trepignet. So that means it'll be Trepignet and Nicholson 1-2 for now.
Let's see who else is finishing a lap. This is Magnon in third, who is coming along the back stretch. He's only 17 thousandths ahead of Devin Horvath, who is going to cross the line after him. So if Devin finds just the tiniest little bit of time out there, he could find himself on the inside of that second row. And, well, Philippe's going to practice his pit entry instead. So he's going to leave himself somewhat vulnerable. Let's see what Horvath can do then.
All right, this is Horvath swinging that car down off of the backstretch. It's a very fast section here that gets progressively tighter until you go into these final chicanes. And Devin also going to be practicing his pit in, so we won't get to see those final corners.
It seems like a lot of drivers are just more interested in trying to practice that pit entry than get that fourth lap. I think I had misspoke. Trepignet is coming around for his final one now, unless he had come in and parked it or something. Checking to see. Yeah, I think he did come in and park it because that one did not count. So indeed, no change for P1 and P2. Now on screen, this is Kwok Nin, who's well down the order today, 20th place. Only driver slower than him on track in qualifying has been Chet Miller. Not sure what is plaguing the 86, but he doesn't seem to like this track.
No, and I said this last night, Joe, that this track is going to be a bit of an equalizer out here. As you said, it's not a very it is not regularly used here on iRacing. It's a very, very different kind of roval than a lot of other stuff we see. And so a lot of drivers, it's not like, say, the Red Bull Ring or Spa that they just know like the back of their hand. This is going to be one that challenges them. Clocked in there, taking a big hunk of the curbs coming up over onto the oval. It's going to be a slower time for him.
I see Burmeister is out on track, but he's not going to have time to set a lap, unfortunately, because I think he just started and he needs to come around for a flyer. Unfortunately, they are not allowed to finish hot laps in this qualifying format. So as the clock ticks down, this is essentially just some practice for him, which he did get out for practice. I'm not sure why he decided to wait until this moment to try and put one down, and indeed, no lap for him, which means our grid is set. And as we take a look at that order, Vincent Trepignet, as we mentioned, is on the pole. Nathan Nicholson will be starting from second position. And then it is Philippe Magnon who starts in P3. Devin Horvath is on the outside of row 2. Luis Reedy will be in 5th. And Rob Campbell starts from 6th position. Then it's Kevin Norris on the inside of row 4. Claude Belval will start from 8th. Kyle Robertson starts 9th today. And Richard Swindells rounds out your top 10.
Starting off at 11th, it'll be Marc-André Desjardins with Paul Espina behind him in the Ferrari. Jean-Claude Langlois will be 13th, followed by Ethan Tavitas with Nikos Anadakis and Michael Padalano in row 8. Alexandra Breton will be 17th, followed by Bowie Suin with David Morse 19th and Kwok Nin a surprising 20th.
Last driver to qualify, Chet Miller in 21st, Jason Burmeister rounding out your 22-car field here for the PRL GT3 Amateur Series. Round 7 here today in Miami. And very similar conditions to what we saw last night for the Pro Series at this same track. 103 Fahrenheit on the surface, 39 Celsius, with thankfully not all that much wind, but also a little bit more humidity than what we experienced on Monday.
Yeah, that humidity is up to 67%. And that's frankly a little bit more of what I would expect here around Miami. What that does mean is that there's going to be more air to push down on these cars. They'll find it a little bit easier to go through some of the high-speed sections of the course, going off the backstretch or off of the front stretch into turn 1. What that also means is that these cars will be punching a little bit bigger of a pocket in the air. There will be a little bit more efficacy of the draft around here. So we may be in for a little bit more passing than we saw last night, Joe.
All right, looks like we just about have everybody on the grid, so the pace car should start leading them around. And Caven Norris, who is going to be starting this one from, where was that? It was, looks like 7th position. Has really got to try and improve his spots if he wants to minimize the damage, let alone try and regain some ground on Trepigny. As Jean-Claude Langlois is going to be in 3rd in the points coming into this one, and he is going to be starting way far down, 13th for him. So our drivers who are in the championship, or at least hoping to be in the championship hunt, are up against the wall on this one.
Yeah, very much so. And they are really going to be hoping they don't end up in the actual wall around here, as there is not a whole lot of runoff through some of these infield sections. You can see the wall on either side of them. We also saw some drivers making some contact with the outside retaining wall coming onto the front stretch. So they're going to have to be careful. The good news for them, though, is coming off of the back stretch, coming off of the front stretch, plenty of runoff for them to catch the car.
Those who are the ambivalent viewer who is just here to see a good race, doesn't care who wins. Well, Nathan Nicholson is the only other driver to have won this season, and with him starting next to Vincent Trepigny, that's a good sign that maybe we still have a race on our hands here today. And it was mighty close between the pair of them in terms of lap time. So we'll keep an eye on that as they now come on to the back stretch. And we watch from on board the outside of row 2 there, with Devin Horvath giving us a perspective. Flying by the beautiful palm trees down here in South Florida. And now this is the corner that we saw catch a number of drivers out. Coming into turn 9, that very tricky braking slash lifting zone here that takes you to turn 10. Wonder if we'll see more drivers unfortunately slip up, since this is the AMs instead of the pros.
Yeah, and it's a tricky corner no matter what, Joe. You've got to really try to be narrow through there. You don't want to take a lot of the banking that exists on going around to the oval circuit, but we'll have to see what plays out. Pace car's off, and we're here for Trepigny.
He's got control of the field. He goes immediately. Green flag is out. He doesn't exactly catch the others behind him napping. Nicholson is able to get in behind. Horvath is and a look for the inside for the lead from Nicholson down at a turn 2, but the door is shut.
The door is shut, and there you see that is going to be Devin Horvath, who was able to get a good jump there over some of the drivers in back. He's now going to be drawn into this big stuff in the middle. I think Philippe Mignon had an incident. He's all the way down to the field.
A spin in turn 2. He did hit the wall a little bit. He falls down to about 20th or 19th. He's actually still fighting as we follow the leaders through turn 6 now. Nicholson is making this a race. Horvath behind by about half a second. Robbie Campbell more distant back. 8 tenths between himself and the podium.
Yeah, and it looks like Horvath is falling back a little bit here as they come into turn 8, able to close up under braking, though. This is the first chance we're going to see how gutsy drivers want to be going down this back stretch. Like I said, the best passing opportunity is into turn 8, but I think it could be possible to get one down here into turn 10.
Just glancing over the curbs. Very good on the brakes there, Nathan Nicholson. Wonder if that's why he tried it down into turn 2 there at the start, knowing that he maybe had an advantage there. Up onto the banking, and then down the front stretch they go. Look at them swing out, oh, so close to that safer barrier. But nothing doing for Nicholson. Just can't seem to get close enough to try and challenge the 87 this time.
No, not exactly. That BMW looks pretty mighty in a straight line, but as you said, definitely able to catch up during braking. I think Rob Campbell's had a problem. That is that Ferrari going wide.
He looks like he's got some sort of slowdown penalty here, and I don't think it was in the first corner because he gave up a number of positions there, and now he's back up to speed. He falls to 7th. That is the green number 19 of Kyle Robertson just behind him, and then Campbell's teammate Swindells is back in 9th.
Indeed, he is. The only place I could see him picking up a penalty there, Joe, is in turn 2, but not entirely sure. Little poke out there behind. I believe that was Paul Espina trying to take a look on Marc-Andre Desjardins through the field into turn 8, but everybody's still single file here.
Yeah, we saw last night. It's kind of tough to make the overtakes around here. And let's see if we get anything down into 10, but if not, I wonder if we should check out the replay of Magnan. Oh, and Reedy has had a problem. Whoa, Reedy is way off the course. There he is, returning. And unfortunately, the 8s is going to lose a number of positions. I think he may have gotten a little bit of the grass coming through 9.
Yeah, Joe, that's exactly what happened. Got the car up onto the grass and just slid out over the kitty litter and rejoined back on the oval portion of the track.
Now he's trying to play defense on Robertson. It was Campbell in front of him before, but Campbell's starting to pull away. And what's going on with Reedy? Is this another slowdown penalty? It's a big one. My goodness. He's almost going 20 miles an hour here, and now he's finally able to get going, and he falls all the way to 19th.
I think that, whoa, as we've got cars off in the foreground.
That's Langlois. That is Langlois off in turn 6. He made some contact. He made contact with Zanadakis, pushed him off course.
Drivers trying to be a little aggressive here early on. They saw how hard it was to get past last night, and I think that is informing their decisions around here. So that's going to bump Zanadakis all the way down into 21st position, Langlois into 22nd.
Let's see if we can get a replay of that incident as we pull it up here. Yeah, watch the 41 just misjudges things. Gets his nose in, and Zanadakis finds himself facing the wrong way. Thankfully, is off the track in time as they start to go too wide in front of him. Oh, and we had another problem with Philippe Mignon. A self-spin onto the oval. Looks like, though, he was having to try and take avoidance maneuvers to not run into Kwok Nin, so it's been a bad day for him already.
Indeed, it has. But we focus back up on the lead here. Nathan Nicholson, again, this looks like a little bit of the battle of setups here. Nicholson just looking absolutely unstoppable on the brakes. He's able to close up a lot through that first sequence of corners. But once these cars start to stretch their legs a little bit, it looks like Trepanier just has the outright speed on it.
This is looking eerily similar to last night, where we saw first and second separated by a little more than half a second all race long, and we heard from P2 that he had put too much wing into it. Has Nicholson done the same? Did he not learn the lesson from before, or is he just kind of sitting and waiting back here? They're about a second and a half ahead of Horvath behind them in the white Porsche that you can kind of see in the backgrounds. Down into turn 1 and 2 once again, and Nathan still not close enough to try and get side by side.
No, he's not. But, I mean, yes, we're obviously dealing with the Constantino effect here, but you see just how much better he is on the binders. It's very, very good getting that Porsche slowed down. I think, Joe, it may only be a matter of time here before he starts to get super aggressive, try to do something to get past that BMW, trying to force a little bit of an error there, it looked like, out of Trepanier. Both cars running very wide on the exit of 6, now through 7.
Still keeping him honest. He's down to 0.3 of a second. Is this where he is stronger? Through the infield where his braking can come in handy. They're going to exit, get some speed up on the oval portion. This is where you would expect him to drop off, but I think Nicholson's starting to figure it out. He's holding with him. That or the slipstream's just enough at this distance back. Down to the braking of 10. He gets within about a car length, and then they swing back and forth. And did something happen with Suin?
Yeah, it looks like he looped it there on the exit of turn 8. I'm not sure if that was a self-spin or if he had a little bit of help on that, but that car, that Ferrari, pointing the wrong way. Oh, here comes Nicholson. He's going to look around the outside, going through that first sector. Has to look for the crossover now. He's going to go down to the inside.
It continues into turn 3. They go wheel to wheel. Track switches back. He's actually got a nose ahead, but just no grip on the marbles. Almost goes out into the grass, but he's holding on just barely. Defensive move from Trepanier to cover him off down into turn 6. Another over-under maybe. He backs up the corner. Nicholson knows where his strengths are. Let's see if he can get it coming into the next corner. No, covering off the inside. Once again, Nicholson just can't seem to get the inside. Oh, there he goes. Pops his nose late. He finally finds himself the lane that he wants, but he's pinched in. He can't get the exit that he needs, and this carries on as now they've been caught by Horvath.
It is indeed, and Devin was able to take that corner almost perfectly. Speed differential coming down the backstraight is almost identical here between your two leaders, but rest assured, Devin Horvath wants this fight to continue.
Wow, things got interesting quick down there. Bad news is the incident with Suin did involve contact. It was Reedy who got into the car between them, and it was a domino effect. They all wound up having a little bit of a 4X there. Let's stick with this for now, because this battle is still mighty close. Does he try and surprise him? Yes, he does. He gets a nose in, and he's given space at it, but that was very polite from Trepanier. He could have tried to shut the door.
He very well could have. Looked like Nicholson there trying to go for another little bit of a crossover move, trying to carry more speed here onto this first straightaway in the infield section. He's going to have a little bit alongside. Tries to go the long way around turn 6. Not going to work there, but again, going for that crossover. Carrying speed on exit. He's got some good speed. He's going to have to work for it, though, down into turn 8.
Oh, look at this, though. He's not moving over. He's keeping him as far to the side as he can. Now he finally comes to the racing line. Trepanier is way to the inside coming into turn 8. Going the long way around. Nicholson with the better exit. Do they dare go too wide through turn 9? This is going to be hairy if they stay like this. And as they come into the corner, Nicholson loses that game of chicken.
He loses that game of chicken, but he is not giving up the fight. Devin Horvath also looking in on this. Better run there through the final couple of corners, it looked like, for Nathan Nicholson, but it carries a little bit too much momentum. Had to check himself wide coming out of that final corner. I don't know if he's going to have another shot to make the dive down here through this first sector. That's Trepanier trying to cover off. Nicholson down to the inside.
Can he blow it up? Oh, no! And he gets hit from behind by Trepanier. Horvath gets through with that one. They've also got Kevin Norris now. They've been fighting just that much that 4th place has now joined the fray. But it looks like Trepanier has fallen to 3rd, and how much damage is on the nose of that BMW?
The grill is definitely banged in a little bit, Joe. That was some pretty hardy damage there. I'm not sure what that big check down was from Nathan Nicholson. I'm not sure if that was a little bit of trying to back up Trepanier at the apex, or if he was maybe just having a little bit of tire spin.
I think that's the road version of a slide job right there. He just sent it in, and then coming off the corner, the car was so slow that the over-under didn't quite work for Vincent. Now all 4 of them split by 1.2 seconds along the backstretch. 2 of the cars probably sporting some significant damage. Down into turn 9. Is Nicholson going to be suffering with it being on the rear? Is his diffuser giving him a little bit less downforce?
I'm looking at the car right now. There is a little bit of damage to the top side of the diffuser, but I think most of it was swallowed up by the body panels itself. And most crucially, Joe, that rear wing on the Porsche does not appear to have suffered any damage. So that's not going to hurt him in a straight line.
I think we got to take her for pit lane. Paul Espina with the early stop. First one to blink and see if he can get a little bit of a different strategy to get himself some track position. He was in quite the thick of a battle, so kind of don't blame him for taking a little bit of a gamble to see if clean air is somewhere else on the track.
Yeah, and we saw that strategy play out a little bit last night, and it worked to varying degrees of effectiveness. There's a lot of drivers running very wide there on the exit of turn 6 and now through 7. Looks like this is finally starting to calm down here for a minute after that absolutely frenzied couple of laps with the battle for the lead.
Ooh, and the good news for fans of Espina, he got out just ahead of Burmeister, who is a car who is not pitted and would have been racing him for position. So Espina in clear air, 12 seconds in front of him until the next car. He can run as quick a laps as he wants.
Yes, he can, and that's really going to help him. He's going to be very, very happy to be able to come out here and just run some clean air. Like I said, there aren't really long enough straightaways around here to make this a full draft track, even though we normally think of most Rovals being that way.
Still stuck as they were before. Nicholson leads Horvath, leads Trepanier, leads Norris. But Vincent looks like he's got his feet underneath him now. He's starting to put some pressure on the white Porsche. And the question is, can he pass and where?
Well, exactly, Joe. And for Vincent Trepanier there, that was probably just a couple of reconnaissance laps. He wanted to feel how hard he could push the car, knowing he did pick up a little bit of damage. And so he didn't want to be taking his normal fastest racing line. Wanted to go a little bit easier. That was a wide exit there out of the corner for Devin Horvath. Is that going to cost him a little bit? I think he's got enough of a gap to be able to hold on Trepanier. But remember, we saw that BMW look pretty quick in a straight line down the backstretch. Could he use that to his advantage here?
The one thing not going for the BMW is at previous tracks where we had high altitude, it seemed to be quite a beast. Well, Florida's about as low as it gets. So he's not going to have the turbo helping him here today. Coming down into 9, look at the distance that Nicholson is continuing to put on them. Now that he's got that clean air, the 56 is loving it.
Yeah, it really is. He was about a 1/10 of a second faster on that last lap over Devin Horvath. He's not really growing the gap here in leaps and bounds. It's just sort of piecemeal bit by bit, although that was pretty quick on that last lap to the tune of about 4/10 of a second.
And do we have a little bit of action back here on the front stretch coming down into turn 1? That is Tavitas on Desjardins. Marc-Andre a little wide at the apex, but doesn't give up the spot.
Yeah, doesn't give it away. Looking for a little bit of a fight back there as they go on through, but nothing doing quite yet. That is going to be Tavitas up forward.
Ahead of them, Richard Swindells is only about 9/10 up the road. If they can stick together, they could potentially catch up to the Canadian. Robertson just in front of him by only a few tenths as well. So we could have a 6-car battle here in the mid-pack pretty easily.
Yeah, it's really starting to shape up here in a little bit of a train, in contrast to what we saw last night from the pros, Joe, where everybody seemed to sort of break off in couplets across the field. This big train keeping relatively consistent in the mid-pack.
I'm keeping an eye on this here on the screen that you viewers can see, and then on mine I'm also kind of watching the top 4, because it does seem that Nicholson is stretching away, so it's becoming more of a battle for second up there. On to the main straight that this group heads onto. Doesn't look like anybody's close enough to attack down into turn 2 amongst them. So they're just going to stay put in line. And Horvath is now starting to go defensive. We want to go back to second place. Look at this. Trepanier really wants to get back into P2. I'm sure he feels like he is losing touch with Nicholson, which I imagine he thinks he could keep up with at least.
I'm sure he does too. Looks like that was a little narrow of an exit there off of turn 6, but he's able to carry good momentum as they come down the infield section here. That's going to be him to the inside. Here goes Trepanier on Horvath trying to poke it in. That's a little bit of a fake out move, but it worked.
Scared him off the racing line, but he doesn't get the exit. That wider line, much better for Horvath. He's around the outside as he chopped down through turn 9. He's clear if he wants it, and they go back to single file.
I like that, though, from Vincent Trepignet. He knows he can get into the head of Devin Horvath now. He poked his nose to the inside there, going down into turn 8 with real no intention of making that pass. I think he just wanted to see if Horvath would bite, and indeed he did, hook, line, and sinker.
Question is, though, will Horvath fall for it twice? It's one thing if you catch him out one time, and down into turn 2, they all accordion together once again. It's up to 1.6 seconds now for Nathan Nicholson. And what a double-edged sword trying to pass Horvath is for Trepignet, because, oh, and he's slow out of turn 5 here. Oh no, this looks like a slowdown penalty yet again. There goes Norris. Norris is up into P3. Things have been falling apart in a very un-Trepignet-like race for the 87.
Yeah, we've seen him just dominate this series thus far, and he looks a little out of place here today. Joe Nicholson, I think, just rattled his cage a little bit. He was also very squirrely coming through turns 3 and 4 before we got onto that second straightaway. He just doesn't fully look like he's got that car under him. Now, that could be a result of that front-end damage that he sustained in that tussle with Nicholson, and it's just not biting quite the way he wants it to.
Well, down into 9 and 10 once again, off the podium at this point. The 87 has not given up too much in the championship. Norris is ahead of him, but remember, Norris came into this 32 points behind, finishing 1 spot ahead. May only get him about 2, 3, maybe 4 points, depending on how the bonuses go. It's something, though, and for Kevin Norris, I'm sure that is the sort of mental boost he needs at this stage of the season.
For sure, definitely wants to be able to get that with the last couple of races still here on the calendar. He is going to feel very, very thankful that he has got that, and he is starting to drop Trepignet a little bit. That gap now expanding to about 5/6 tenths of a second.
Let's head back to Richard Swindell's. The 16 car is suddenly finding Marc-Andre Desjardins getting bigger and bigger in his mirrors. That is Swindell's in the red, white, and black, followed by the blue, red, and black of Marc-Andre, another of our BMWs, teammates to Trepignet, our pole sitter, down into 8. He's not close enough to attack. Behind them, it's getting almost nose to tail between Tavitas and Breton. And coming on to the back stretch, they all accordion apart once again.
They do indeed, but I think these drivers just trying to see where they can force a little bit. I wonder if there's a bit of fuel saving starting to go on here. Maybe drivers starting to think about that strategy, when their tank is going to run dry and when they should dive down pit lane. That was, let's not also forget out of this, Michael Pavlano in the 101, also holding onto the back of this train, not making this exactly easy for Alexandre Breton.
No, he is not. And I'm double checking to see what the pace of Espina is. You mentioned the pit stops, and I was curious, and he's still the only one that's pitted. So he's been doing decent-ish laps, but I'm not sure if he's been able to beat the drivers who he was racing with before his stop. Langlois just caught past Suin while we weren't looking. Don't need to go there. And Breton still being chased by Pavlano, who got quite close down into turn 6, just couldn't quite get side by side. They all weave their way across the track, following the racing line down into the left-hander of 8.
And Joe, I was watching Marc-Andre Desjardins there coming out of turn 7. That BMW looked very, very squirrely. A little bit of tire spin, just not gripping the rears the way he wanted to. So I wonder if this is a problem for the entire NTR teams, that they may be running a little bit less downforce around here. Remember the straight line speed that Trepignet was able to carry earlier in the race? They're running a little bit more downforce. They could be starting to struggle a little bit here as these tires wear off.
That's a good point. And the temperatures haven't really gone down all that much. They're still at 101 Fahrenheit, so just 1 degree lower here today as opposed to yesterday, where it dipped down to, I think, as low as about 95. And that was a little bit of a bobble there that I thought I saw. And indeed, yeah, Breton is now under attack as Pavlano manages to get side by side, but he's on the wrong side, and that's out in the marbles, and that will not do.
Yeah, that banked corner there, that is turn 5, or turn 4 rather, very, very tricky to go around the outside there. As you said, it almost acts like a little bit of a mini oval corner. The marble's just kicking up on the outside of the corner. If you try to carry some momentum around the high side there, you're going to find yourself in a little bit of hurt, and that's exactly what happened to Pavolano.
Yeah, with how single file it usually is through there, I got to think that there's tons and tons of those marbles kicking up and nobody daring to clean them up. We had a problem with Chet Miller out of turn 6. I think this was a self-spin that did send him sadly into the wall, so he sustained some damage on that Lambo.
Yeah, you can see that front end banged in a little bit there. Ooh, that does not look pretty at all. He'll maybe want to come down pit lane here now, use this opportunity to take the stop and just see if he can maybe get a little bit of damage repair put on that Lamborghini.
Ooh, Luis Reedy went for a ride down through the grass once again. This one happening at turn 10. Looks like he's recovered it. Another driver incredibly thankful for these wide grass infields that they have just inside the oval corners, because that certainly kept him from hitting anything. He went for a long ways and then eventually trundled back to the circuit, maybe looking a little sheepish.
Yeah, indeed he did, Joe. And it's really a tale of two circuits around here, because when you get into this middle part of the track, those walls are very, very close to you, but then you come in off of the oval portion itself, and there's plenty of room to get around. So check back in on that battle for P7. Ooh, Desjardins looking a little bit aggressive. I think he may have outbraked himself a little bit coming down into turn 8.
Seemed like he was looking a little offline. Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there, but doesn't manage to overtake Swindells, who now leads them into turn 10. And let's see if everybody can get through here. Oh, it looks a little wide for the 16. Ah, that's why he's coming into pit lane. Swindells is our second driver to pit. No, Chet Miller has been in and out as well.
All right, so this is within the pit window that we expect. I anticipate drivers all to be coming in with about the next 6 to 7 minutes or so as we watch Swindells in that Ferrari making his way down.
Hey, remember we saw last night that the drivers seem to be able to go quite long here. So fuel saving, something either easy to do or it's just not a thirsty track as we continue to watch this fight down in the mid-pack between Tavetas and Breton. This is up into turn 6, each of them taking as much of that curb on the outside as they can. They're so flat around here. There's not many curbs you really have to worry about.
Yeah, there really aren't. There is that nice little bit of elevation change through that 3-4 complex, but the biggest real elevation you have to worry about, frankly, is coming out of the infield onto the start-finish straight and getting back up onto the oval portion. We haven't really talked about it here tonight, but we did plenty last night, Joe. You've got to be careful there. You don't want to damage the front splitter or fenders on these cars, as that is such a sharp increase. It can really do some damage.
Speaking of damage, Nicholson has lost most of his lead. Devin Horvath has clawed him back to about 0.4 of a second. What's going on with the 56? Is he suffering from the damage we thought he might have earlier with the hits? Is it something with the engine potentially? It is towards the rear on that Porsche, so obviously if it gets a thwack, that can sometimes hinder performance, but this took a while to manifest itself, if that's the case.
Well, there was a little bit of a slowdown on the last lap coming through turn 6 as Nicholson tried to get by Chet Miller, the lapped car out on track. And that did hamper him a little bit. It actually hurt Caven Norris a bit more, but Caven able to gain it back up under him. I wonder potentially, Joe, if Nathan's just overdriving the car a little bit, using a little bit too much of the tires and putting too much heat into them. We talk a lot about the rears on this Porsche. It's rear-wheel drive, rear engine. It's a lot of energy coming through that rear axle. Very easy to get a little bit of tire spin. And if that's happening, he'll lose performance not only on the straightaways because the tires aren't gripping to jump him off the line, but he'll also obviously be losing a lot of time through the corners.
Well, now that Horvath has caught him, it's kind of hovering. Looks like Rob Campbell, the next to visit pit lane. He should come out ahead of Swindells. since he was a little ways up the road on that one. Poblano also joining them. So 2 more cars down, but we're waiting on about 15 others to finally take service. And look at this. Was Nicholson listening to us, or is he just uncomfortable with how close Devin Horvath was getting, because he's starting to increase that gap suddenly?
Yeah, he is, Joe. I think that may have just been a little bit of results of lap traffic if he continues to put in these fast times.
Yeah, it certainly looks like things are under control now. Poblano comes out behind both Swindells and Espina. So unfortunately, that did not work out for Poblano, and that actually puts them all in traffic with one another as we watch the battle for the lead. Let's see if they come into pit lane this time. None of the 4 heading in. I think the latest we saw, wasn't it down to about 9 minutes left for drivers last night?
Yeah, that's about what it was, Joe, right under that 10-minute mark. So we'll have to see what these drivers decide to do. I'm not really seeing anybody else opting the rest down in the field here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody as well. As this is between Breton and Tavitas for the 8th position. Ethan, is he going to defend? Mighty close behind that BMW. But nope, the Porsche just sticks to the racing line, and no worry needed. So just because there's no overtake, not even a challenge, although he's getting very close to the bumper of that number 1. Let's hope that they don't have a little bit of accidental contact. Looks like Morse and Langlois also pitting.
All right, so some of the drivers farther down the order opting for it here. You see that little bit of a more defensive line, but a little bit quack-eyed coming out of the corner there, as this may be an opportunity for Breton.
I think he fell back, though. He didn't get the exit he needed with that attempt. This is going to deny him a chance down into turn 8. Maybe he'll reset himself, try to square off the exit. That's looking like what he did, but it doesn't have the grip, and he continues to drop behind Ethan.
Yeah, just not going for it quite yet. I think he'd like to try to get by before pit cycles start up here, but I'm not sure if that can happen. Looked like a little bit of a squiggle there, though, out of Tavitas coming down into the sector. Neither driver opts for pit lane here.
I feel like going as long as possible is probably the way to go for these drivers, knowing they've got that track position. Run it dry, make sure that nobody is able to try and jump you by an overcut instead. And Kwok Nin just went off track in turns 9 and 10, so that's another driver having issues there.
Yeah, Joe, I actually saw that happen. It just looked like he carried a little bit too much speed off of the oval here and just drove it right down into the grass. But some damage on the front of that 86 for Kwok Nin right now.
Suin is in pit lane. Oh, and Espina is back. Why is Paul Espina in pit lane again? He's not serving a drive-through? Huh. Not sure what's going on here, unless he had some damage this lap that cost him. And our leaders are in, except for Devin Horvath, who seems to have saved enough fuel that he can go 1 lap longer.
All right, so we'll have to see if Horvath's strategy will play out for him here. That 32 heading around. You mentioned it earlier, Joe, the overcut. It could play dividends here if Horvath is able to put in a blinder of an in-lap.
And he might be the only one that is able, yeah, he is the only one that is able to make it to lap 23 on this set of fuel. Back out. Looks like Nicholson ahead of Norris, ahead of Trepanier. Even the pit stop's not working for the 87 here. He needs to make these passes on track in these last 9 minutes.
Yeah, he definitely does, but with that damage on the car, he may find himself in a little bit of trouble here as they work their way now down into turn 6. I'm keeping an eye out on Devin Horvath when we anticipate him coming in on this next lap.
There he is, your current leader But we expect that he's probably not going to be in the lead, but you never know. Will this overcut be that powerful down into the pit lane? He's certainly getting as much as he can out of that little single lane chicane. And now he's on the pit limiter. It was a 9.4 second stop for Devin Horvath, 34.4 from cone to cone. Excuse me, for Nathan Nicholson, not Devin Horvath. It's what Horvath has to try and match and do at least a second or two better than to try and challenge Nathan Nicholson. There comes Nathan back onto the main straight. Horvath is in his stall, 8.7 seconds, and it was a little bit quicker. Nicholson is coming. It's going to be close, but Nicholson is ahead, and just barely.
Oh, you could have put a piece of paper in between those two cars, Joe. They were so close together coming out of the pits. So Horvath now has got to chase down his fellow Porsche driver as they come out in perfect lockstep in this battle that we've been watching the entire race.
Wow, and there's not much time to get set up coming into that corner. All he knew was that Horvath was exiting, probably got his spotter letting him know a slow car to the inside. And then he had to be sure that that car was not going to be there when he chopped down to the apex. Battle is on. 7.5 minutes left to go. Desjardins suddenly in pit lane for a second time. Do we have info on what happened to the 15? This is strange that we're seeing a couple cars taking 2 stops here today. It's not a standard thing typically, so we'll try and suss out what went down there. As down into the hairpin. Very close battle now between the likes of Breton and Tavitas, yet still they have not been able to get away from one another. This is for the 7th place.
Yes, it is. Breton trying to put as much pressure as he can onto Tavitas, flirting with that grass on the outside there coming off the backstretch. Here they come through this last set of chicanes. Ooh, that looked like a big checkup for Tavitas.
Major mistake out of the number 1 car. This allows Alexander a chance to try and slipstream and attack down into turn 1. Does he take it? No, he's going to stay on the racing line.
I think he may have had the overdrive there if he wanted it. I'm not sure why he chose to back off there. Discretion just trying to be the better part of valor. They now work their way through this next section of corners. Breton trying to hope for the better jump off the line into 6. He's close, but I don't think he's close enough.
Coming down into turn 6. No, he is not. But he nearly is putting the bumper to that Porsche at this point. Let's hope we don't get another case like that here today. Tavitas is currently holding down 7th place while his teammate Horvath is looking at a podium today. So certainly looking like it's going to be a good one for them. The YS Motorsports cars going to rack up some points to try and get that team championship maybe a little bit more within sight. Here with 5 minutes left to go, breaking once again into the first corner. Looks like we are back to the battle between Horvath, but this time not with Nicholson, with Norris behind him. And in fact, isn't Norris the teammate to Breton? I think he is.
Yeah, indeed he is. It's a little bit confusing there. Horvath and Tavitas teammates and Breton and Norris teammates, identical cars running here. So both of the close battles in identical machinery.
Well then, that's ASR AMA, which is another one that's really needing points at this stage. Defensive move from Tavitas right now into turn 6, and there's almost contact between them, I think. In fact, there may have been contact if we want to get a replay. This has gotten pretty feisty now, and the drivers have been warned ahead of time about that, obviously because of some of the excitement we've had in the previous weeks. Of course, nothing untoward yet between these drivers, just some natural close racing, but we're crossing fingers that we don't see 2 cars suddenly spun at the side of the track.
Yeah, indeed. Really, really hoping that we don't see that here as we tick down under 4 minutes.
Another very different line from Tavitas, but this one actually helped. He backed up the second apex, and that put him well away from the 89 car.
Yeah, backed him up quite a bit there. I think at this point, just trying to find some... Whoa! Here comes the move for Baton!
He finds an opening. He gets to the inside of him, but the battle carries on. Back-to-back hairpins here, and he gets a better exit round the outside of 4. Great stuff from the 89 car to get himself into 7th.
A very impressive move, almost by sheer force of will alone. I didn't think he had the overspeed coming off of the oval portion of the track, but just powered that purple BMW on its way through.
All right, so ASR AMA finds at least one of their cars now up a position. And side-by-side action between Langlois and Morse here. This is for 14th. Morse to the inside of this corner, and a much better exit. Could give him the inside for the next one if he wants to defend. Jean-Claude is going to try and make an opening. He is going to get to the inside, down to the turn. Barely makes it as he almost gets into the side of the Ferrari. And this carries on down the backstretch.
Oh, I think that is Michael Pavolano there, who had a little bit of a coming together, Joe.
Did he? I think he managed. Oh my goodness, we want to replay on this one. Pavolano gave a big scare to Swindell's. And an onboard from the 16 is in order on this one. Watch this. Zoop. Just fits his car in between them in time.
Oy!
Wow. And if he wasn't aware that that car was spinning behind him, that flash of a vehicle just crossing his windscreen certainly put the fear of the Lord in you.
Yeah, that's a moment where you're thanking your lucky stars that your car wasn't just about 2 centimeters longer right there if you are Swindell's.
2 laps to go. Nathan Nicholson still holding at about 6/10 over Devin Horvath. Nathan had to fight for this one. It was Vincent Trepanier who was in the lead. Had a little bit of contact in that battle, but since then, he's been in control. Horvath trying to challenge him, keeping him honest. It's only been up to about 1.6 seconds at the most. Since then, it's come down to what you see about here since the pit stops. So Devin Horvath making sure that Nathan cannot afford any slip-ups.
Yeah, very much so. And Nathan Nicholson over the radio right now talking about getting past some lap cars here, just trying to hold on to that gap as long as he can.
Yeah, that's Jason Burmeister. He's 7 laps down. So he's just trying to get some points here today. Maybe a little bit of practice. And that was a great move from Jason. Good sportsmanship there. He wasn't racing anybody and made sure that everybody got through clear. And yet more traffic, though, that they're going through. This time it's Paul Espina, and it's going to hurt Vincent Trepanier.
Oh, yeah, it is. Trepanier is going to get caught out there, lose a lot of time up to Kevin Norris. So your pole sitter there having more and more problems out here today. And he's got to watch his rear end. That's Rob Campbell coming up behind him in that Ferrari.
I guess this is a case that nobody's perfect, and Vincent is discovering that he is not impervious to a bad day. Just behind him, his fellow Canadian Rob Campbell, just giving watch down through the infield portion now. But we're on the white flag lap, so if he can just hold them off for this lap, then he will be golden. That is your leader in the blue number 56, Nathan Nicholson. Horvath in the 32, the white Porsche behind him. Norris running in the BMW in third, all separated by roughly 1 second.
They just have to get through these final corners absolutely perfectly and make sure that nobody makes a mistake here as they get up and around so very close.
Saw some defensive moves there from Nathan just in case, I think. but Horvath was definitely not close enough down into turn 8. Into turn 10 one last time. As long as he navigates this chicane successfully, Nicholson is going to get win number 2 this season. Nathan is your victor here in Miami.
A commanding drive there for the 56. A really, really great job. He forced his way forward on Trepigny. Pulls off to the side there. I think he may be out of fuel. He may have run it that close to the end.
Indeed. And I'll tell you what, despite it only being a minute 20 lap around here, it's not that long of a lap. 18 of our 22 starters finished on the lead lap today, or looking like they're going to finish on the lead lap today. We're still waiting on the rest of them to come through, but we're actually going to head to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to Homestead-Miami Speedway. We just watched round 7 of the PRL GT3 Amateur Series. And up at the front, Nathan Nicholson managed an aggressive pass and took the lead, didn't look back, and won here today for the second time this season. Devin Horvath was P2 with Caven Norris in third. Our pole sitter didn't even show on the podium today. Fourth place for Vincent Trepigny. Just seemed to be an off day for him. Rob Campbell was fifth, followed by Claude Belval in sixth position. Breton, we didn't really get to cover. 17th to 7th was a great gain of spots for him. Tavitas was 8th, and Robertson was 9th, with Swindells finishing where he started in 10th.
Michael Pablano, despite that off late in the race, was able to come home in 11th, followed by Louise Reedy with Nico Zanadakis in 13th and Jean-Claude Langlois in 14th. David Morse was 15th, followed by Bowie Suen with Kwok in 17th and Marc-Andre Desjardins in 18th. Paul Espina was 1 lap down in 19th, and Chet Miller was 3 laps down in 20th.
Amazingly, all 22 cars that started finished today. So kudos to the GT3 AM series and their participants. But we need to give kudos to Nathan Nicholson, who took the victory today for the second time this season. And Nathan, I have to ask that move that got you the lead, did you think that you had blown the corner? Was that a little bit of an accident that brought the contact between you? Or was that, as they say in the dirt world, a slide job?
I did think it was a little bit of a send. I knew I was going to wash out a little bit, but I did not expect that much. I just tried to keep clear. I think he kind of tried to check up and go for the switchback, and he kind of made a little bit of contact, but I think it's clean.
Well, in the end, you kept pace and held everybody back. It did seem like at times Horvath made you nervous. Was that just due to traffic, or were you losing pace? Were you struggling with tires or something?
Yeah, traffic wasn't the best, and going into this race, I knew tires were going to be a big thing, so I tried to make my first 5 laps count, get into the position that I wanted, and I was able to do that, and I was able to try and manage them from there, and it ended up working out.
Wow, that is impressive. Well, again, congratulations for taking another win. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this one?
I can't thank Carl Modoff enough helping me. It was a little bit of a struggle at the beginning. Porsche's really good at this track. I want to thank our sponsors, Move Up, Race Factory, Freem USA, United for Kids, Get Stuck, Driven Texas, and Extreme Sim Racing.
That was Nathan Nicholson for RF Delta Sport taking the win here in the AM Series. And up next, DJ's caught up with Devin Horvath, only 3/10 behind him at the line.
I have indeed, Devin, on a track that it was pretty notorious not to be able to pass on. You and the rest of that leading pack put on quite a show here today.
Yeah, it was a super exciting race. I didn't have a lot of time to breathe during the whole race, and it was pretty much go the whole time, so it was really exciting.
Talk me through that moment. You obviously were able to, take a little bit of an advantage of that incident between Trepanier and Nicholson, and when Nicholson made the pass by, you got through on it. Was it just a matter of, okay, here's my opportunity?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I seen that they made contact, and there was a little bit of space on the inside, and I just decided to go there, and I just squeaked by just in time.
Well, it was a pretty fantastic move to be able to see it. I got to tell you, we were very, very impressed with it. Next time out, we head to a little bit more of a traditional circuit in Suzuka. How do you think that's going to go?
Hopefully as good as this week did.
Well, I guess that's all you can ask for. Devin, anybody you want to thank for this second place run here today?
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to thank YS Motorsports, my teammate Ethan and Sean for helping me with the setup.
Well, thank you very much. That was Devin Horvath, your second place finisher. And now, Joe Peak, you have caught up with our third place finisher here today, Caven Norris.
Indeed. And Caven, about the only pass I could find for you on track was that pass for third. Everything else just kind of fell in your lap today.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Started 7, so I was just trying to keep going and make not making mistakes at all. So yeah, it was fun though.
You and your teammate Alexander have put in a good performance today, getting the 3rd and the 7th place out there. So do you see the ASR AMA team continuing to hold this top spot and be able to hold NTR Yellow off?
I mean, we are working very hard. We're trying to keep on the top for sure. Alexander is very good, learning the track and everything the whole week. We had 0 lap on this track before the week. So yeah, it was pretty busy.
Well, I'd say that's a great learning curve, managing to get a podium there on the first time of asking. Is there anybody that you want to thank that helped make the podium possible?
Yeah, of course. Advanced SimRacing. Alexandre Breton, Phil Bouchard, Andrew Caron, and Guillaume Lévesque.
Well, thank you for coming and talking to us. That was our third place finisher, Caven Norris, here today. And we're going to have to wrap up with a big thank you to our sponsors, of course, starting with ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. As well as SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here, and additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And please check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. There's a link in the description below. Make sure and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because as we mentioned, next week we're coming back to Snetterton and Suzuka, November 9th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.